Well, I've been looking forward to this since Thursday. I always like talking to him. Heath Shuler's a great guy, but man, I saw Navy Shuler run out there, and I was proud. And I didn't even have anything to do with rearing him. Heath, what did you feel like?
Uh, you know, you never think, when you raise your kids, and then, we took Navy over to Tennessee like his 7th birthday, and he had some friends, and he got to run through the act like he was running through the T on the in Neyland Stadium. Was kind of a cool thing, and you just never realized that you would have your son grow up, wear your jersey number, and run through the T, be a part of the Tennessee family, and then also get a chance to play. So I mean, it was emotional. The whole day was emotional for Nicole and I as we kind of watched him do the ball walk, and then go do the warm ups, and it was just a dream come true for him. But also as parents, you're just so proud that you get to watch your son capture a dream.
Are you sitting there hoping he gets in the game, or are you kind of like, we got a whole season to go, we'll see how things play out? But when it got one sided, there was certainly that possibility.
Well, there was, and it was kind of funny. Nicole and I were just sitting there. She goes, "You think he'll go in?" I said, "Ah, probably not. I mean, it's early. He's just got there. Huh? It's not like he's been, And then all of a sudden, I saw him stand on the sidelines. I saw him run to grab his helmet, and I'm like, okay, that's always the first sign as a quarterback. You grab your helmet and you start warming up. And I think he had about 2 throws in before Heupel just kind of grabbed him and said, "All right, you're in." Sling it. So I think the snap that kind of went faster, however it went, and he went and chased it down. That I think that was a pass play. So it was really cool to see that the head coach is saying, "Hey, I don't mind throwing at any point in time. You're in there. You're going to learn. We're not going to, just let you just hand the ball off." So that was a pretty great to see and realize they got confidence in him.
Heath, you were such a legend, and I want to encourage people to hit that subscribe button and like so they can hear more of this. Because I love talking to former Tennessee players, but you were such a legend, and then a first round pick, and I just wonder, was there any hesitation from the Schuler family perspective about Navy kind of following in your footsteps? Because there you set a pretty high mark.
I mean, Navy and I had that conversation, and we had it as a family, and those, what does that mean? And it's like Navy said. He said, "Dad, look," he said, "every time, the first time I ever played, they said, 'Are you going to be like your father?'" And so he said, "I've kind of dealt with that my whole life." He said, "Dad, I don't look at it as like I'm trying to compete with you. I'm trying to be the best player that I can possibly be, and take the God given talent that's been handed to me, and to be able to, give my team the best opportunity to, get a chance to play and be successful." And he kind of looks at he's proud of what I accomplished, and he says, "I'm just hoping that someday I get a chance to, fulfill his dreams as well." And one of those was accomplished there on Thursday night.
So you guys meet up after. What was the first thing you guys said to each other?
I mean, I just hugged him and said, how proud I was. I said, "Unbelievable. You got to go in the game and play." And he was just like, "Dad, I just can't describe it. It was so awesome running onto the field." And, I mean, you could hear when when they said, Navy Schuler entering at quarterback, you could hear the fans. And that was cool to be able to know that the fans that were still there, that they were cheering him on. And, the great part about Navy, I mean, he loves the game, and he's such a great kid, though. I mean, just kid, adult. He conducts himself in the right way. The coaches will tell you, he works extremely hard. He does everything that they ask. He's got great grades. So all the things that you ask for from a teammate and player, and I think his teammates like him. I watch him on the sidelines. He has great conversation with them. So, it's all of those things. At the end of the day, I mean, hopefully, he'll continue to compete and do the right things. And if he gets his shot one day, then that's great. But the most important thing, he's getting a great education from a great university, and he's around some incredible coaches and players that, it's going to pay off and having those relationships in years to come.
You just said something that is incredibly forgotten nowadays, because we talk so much about NIL and transfer and all this stuff. But yes, there is still an education. I think the kids deserve some of the money. I got zero problem with that. But um, I, there is still an education out there that helped you become a congressman. So
Yes, that's
I mean, I think some of that, I don't know how we undervalue that as a society, but we kind of do. But Navy gets that.
well, he does, and not only that, he graduated high school in 3.5 years, and so
Wow.
then he went to college early, and then he's gone through summer school. So, I mean, he is now halfway through his second semester of his junior year. So, I mean, he has 4 years of eligibility, 3 after this year. And so, he has a long, and so he realizes that I know I'm going to get my master's degree. And then after that, will I work on my doctorate? Will I get my doctorate? I mean, so you work through those things, and he's thinking about that in the back of his mind. And then just out of the blue, this summer, he said, "Hey, Dad, I'm going to get my real estate license." He said, "We can start making money, NIL. I can have a job or opportunities and stuff during the summer." So he started it in late summer. And so he'll try to finish that up, maybe this fall to get his real estate license. And, because that's kind of been the theme for our family. Real estate's always been important to us. And, a lot of the things that we still do today. So he, at some point, I'm sure he and I will team up and work together. And working with your son is always incredible. And so those are relationships that he's building both in the classroom and on the field and with the fans, are important later in life.
What do you think of this offense? If I were a quarterback like you with your ability, I would be like, whoa, give me one season at 21
What?
years old. One season.
Well, first of all, it was almost like, I look at that, David tried to create that in portions of it, because there was the aspect of the run pass when we got inside the red zone. We ran the option, and in part of David's philosophy was Cuckler's philosophy was, get rid of the ball, don't worry about getting a sack, don't take sacks, don't let's not put ourselves in very difficult situations, a second and long or third and long. So, I mean, let's get the ball out. So it's kind of that fast break. So it kind of has a little flair of that. And you add on top of it what Coach Heupel is and his staff has been able to bring on, the speed of when one play goes to the next play. And with the personnel that we had back during that time, with the great running backs that we had and the receivers that we had in the line, I mean, that was a very athletic offensive line. And then
Oh,
you had a great running backs could actually, become receivers. And so I could see where that offense during that period of time could catch the ball as receivers, and the next thing you know, they're in an I formation the very next play. That speed of the game, I absolutely love. And and most people I think, what does it think from a fan standpoint? Now it's nonstop. There's not a delay from one play to the next. Here's the most important thing that I like about this offense. That when something negative goes wrong, bad pass, incompletion, missed blocking assignment, you're going so fast that you don't have time to dwell upon just what happened.
that's right.
And I always want to look, the psychology of the game of football is important, the mental aspect, mentally preparing yourself to go. And I always thought to myself when I played, the absolute worst thing you could ever do is huddle. I think huddling is the worst. It sets yourself back for negativity. You always got that one player that's things never go right for them, or they're always kind of down, or you see their emotion. If you see their emotion, it puts you in that same situation. So I think staying on the at the line of scrimmage or receivers, and I wouldn't have to listen to the receivers always tell me, "Hey, I was open that time." So that fast pace, I think, mentally is. I didn't never like cuddling. So even when I I was the offensive coordinator for 6 years at our high school, at Christ School in North Carolina. I did not like to huddle for that very reason. Stay mentally prepared, try to go as fast as you possibly can. So I think there's not only the physical attributes that it does and the advantages that it gives the offense, but the most important thing to me is that mental preparation that it's giving you, it's affording you, or you don't allow those negative thoughts come into your head because it's going so fast.
We absolutely love to visit with former Vols like Heath Shuler. So hit that subscribe and like button, turn the notifications on so that you'll know that when the next conversation comes down the pike. So the Johnny Majors Classic. It's Tennessee Pitt this week. What are some of your memories of Coach Majors, who I end up getting really close to? He and I we're going to actually be co-host of the Johnny Majors show. We had affiliates across the state, and we had a sales department that didn't sell anything, but that doesn't matter. But what's a story about Johnny Majors that you can share? You might have to clean up the language.
I mean, ironically enough, I mean, there was certainly a lot of from the football attribute standpoint. I mean, I remember him coming visit, doing the home visit, back in Bryson City when I was in high school when he was recruiting me. Just some of the things that from that very day he really didn't change. And oftentimes you see coaches change from the home visit till you get to actually. I mean, he was honest, he was upfront, he was very approachable, and he was the same way when he became the coach. um, but one of the things that I remember the most is actually, he loved government. He loved politics. And so when I got into office, I heard from Coach more then than I had ever heard prior to him. I mean, he was still trying to coach me during that period of time. And it was amazing. He's a historian. He loved history. And so he would, text me, email me, he would call me, and my good friend and my mentor John Tanner, who's member from the west part, representative from the western part of the state of Tennessee. He would, if I didn't answer, he would call John, and so the two of us would, the three of us would communicate together. So it was ironic that how much he loved politics and how much he loved government. I was really surprised of the really the amount of time he spent after his coaching days that he spent, on history.
I can remember one time bumping into him right after Lane Kiffin left after a year. And I asked him, I said, "What do you think about somebody leaving after a year?" And he goes, "It's happened all the time. I could do an impression, but I'm not going to do it."
Yeah.
And he went back to the 70s, 60s, 50s. Okay. So I drive home, Heath, and it's a number I don't recognize. And he found a way to get my number and left a voicemail. He went back to the 1920s. I kid you not. He goes, "Dave, I forgot about this one." I mean, it was amazing how
A
sharp he
historian.
was.
Yes. Yeah, he got into history all the time. Even as a player now, I reflect back at some of the things that he talked about, and even history. He liked it in the game too, because I will never forget my freshman year. He wanted to put this wing T type, offense that he ran, and he's like, "All right, you're quarterback, but you're really a tailback. I'm gonna put you at tailback. You're gonna throw the ball sometimes. I'll put you at tailback." And so he literally, I mean, we practiced like plays, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe this." So I always thought that I was going to get in on some kind of odd, strange formation, but he wanted to kind of prepare for it. And he goes, "You'd have made a good single wing, single wing, single wing." I mean, he was all about the history of the game, and he taught us history. And I think one of the things about Tennessee, because he played there, he coached there. He would give us, it allowed us, and he would bring in former players that we only saw their pictures on the wall, and he would introduce and tell us about what they were doing in their life and the things that they've been able to accomplish. And that to me, so if I were to say something about Johnny Majors, I think he was a truly historian, and he loved history.
Yeah. What do you remember about the transition? Which
Uh,
is, I can't imagine.
Hey, that is a book to be written.
Yeah.
That was a very difficult and challenging time for the entire team. I mean, it was a major distraction. That there was the kind of the, and at that point in time, you did not see the conflict between the players. It was kind of more the outside world, kind of playing the politics of who's going to be the next coach. And as players, I mean, I was so close to Coach Fulmer. He's our head coach, and so it was obviously challenging as players, and there was a divide on the team. I mean, as you're a senior and you play for Coach Majors, I mean, the seniors are put on the pedestal, and so there was a divide between our team. So it was challenging. And as a starting quarterback, I knew at that point in time we had to, start playing for the fans and the team, and regardless of who actually was that, and I'll never forget the meeting that we had in the locker room. And there was a lot of people, JJ McCleskey, there's a lot of people that spoke up. And, I think one of the most important things from that is we realized that we had, as players, that was not a decision that we were making or had to make or had any influence on. And so we just had to go out and play for one another and the fans and the university. And, whoever ultimately became our coach is how we was going to have to play. And so it was, I actually, in the beginning, it was a challenge in the division, but at the very end of it, it actually brought our team closer together.
It's interesting because you all played like it moving forward. Do you remember where you were when I think the press conference was in Memphis.
It was.
Do you remember where
Not
you
after the game? I mean, we kind of, so we knew it going into the game, kind of going into the game. Yeah, that Coach Major is going to be, fired at the end of the game,
Oh, wow.
before the season's end. So it was kind of one of those kind of, play for coach. And it was kind of the rumblings and the hearings that they was going to make that call. So, you go out and you play and, end with a victory against Memphis.
Wow. Things worked out well, though, for the offensive staff and the entire football team.
Right.
And I know you hated to see him go, but did you feel like really no matter what happened, you were in good hands because it was going to be status quo moving forward?
Yeah, and that was the one positive that as players we discussed and talked about, that, at least it's people that we know if they do make the change. And the relationships, I think that helped our team. We maintained the same offense and the same defense. So it wasn't like that we had, coaches that was coming from a different program. It was the people that we knew. And, as an assistant coach, you're a little bit more of a player's coach, right? But Phillip never changed. I mean, he always maintained being the player's coach. And that was an era where there was fewer number of kind of players coaches. The head coach, was kind of seen as the icon, as, less about the relationship building between the player and the coach. And as that new era of coaching, that I would say Phillip Fulmer kind of helped start of being a player's coach, that relationship and that transition became very smooth with him at the helm.
Heath, I do a weekly show with Cooper Mays, and he specifically asked me to ask you about his.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So
I can only imagine what Coop said.
Yeah. So he asked me to ask you the best story. So Kevin, of course, for those that don't know, was an offensive lineman at Tennessee, and you two, I learned since we talked, have remained close friends. The families have remained close friends. So what's your best Kevin Mays story? Because I've got
to tell it on the air. And there is more than one, I promise you. I think one of the things about Kevin, I mean, it's not necessarily as much as a story. I do. There was one I can tell. I'll never forget that Kevin always wanted to psych the other team out. I mean, he would come to the line of scrimmage and say some of the most crazy things you could ever imagine to the defensive line. And I'm like the quarterback and think, dude, man, don't make this guy. He's an All-American. Don't make these guys mad before they start, if they get back to me. But I mean, he played with those guys mentally. I mean, don't kid yourself. I've never heard anyone in my life talk more trash than Kevin Mays.
Wow.
No one talked more trash. In the middle, I could hear him talking trash as I was yelling out the cadence. And the thing was, the defensive guys would look at me and say, man, your guy, that number 67, he's crazy, isn't he? I said, oh, man, don't mess with him. So you can kind of play off on it. I said, that guy, he's out there, man. Don't be messing with that guy. And I think it really played to his advantage. Kevin's a really smart guy. I mean, that whole offensive line, as you looked at, I mean, their ACT scores are, probably average 30. I mean, you had Kevin Mays and Lehman and Smith and Bubba Miller. I mean, those guys were just so smart. And so it really helped, offensively, but Kevin's advantage was just talking as much trash as possible at the line of scrimmage,
Wow.
Yeah, the second story I will tell, we're playing Florida at home in '92, and it was raining really hard, and there was a reporter that was a very attractive reporter standing in the end zone, and we're in a TV timeout, and I'm talking to the team, and I'm looking at none of them. None of the offensive line are paying me any attention. And I said, Mace, man, focus. Let's go, focus. Right. And he said, man, I have no idea what you're talking about. And the whole line was looking at this very attractive reporter. And I kind of looked over my shoulder. I said, okay, we got to get focused back again. And but it was the funny things that those guys would kind of bring up. I mean, they were very close. And that's what you wanted with an offensive line, is just to be so close. And they were so close to the to the running backs. And I think that's why that era, we were so balanced. I mean, if you look at, we averaged over 200 yards passing, we averaged over 200 yards running. And, I guess we held all the offensive records up until this past year when Josh Heupel brought his new offensive and the players that they have. And they'll probably I assume that they're going to break that record that they set last year. But, I mean, that was a very balanced offense and, just incredible teammates.
So, Heath, what do you do nowadays? For those that are curious, what keeps you busy?
So I still do a lot of real estate. So real estate is really my love. And I have a consulting firm that's been very successful. Once I left Duke Energy as senior vice president there, ran a small oil and gas company, and essentially what we do is we help businesses throughout the world. Now we're not just in the United States, but we're throughout the world. We have some 50 of partners that we have connections, and essentially we look at businesses will come to us and we help them with their bottom line. And oftentimes it's with the private equity firms that are trying to purchase them. And they're maybe not where they need to be, and they need to make some changes or redevelop something. So I bring in the subject matter experts, a lot of former executives in their area of expertise, former CEOs, executives. And so we team up and we put together a business plan and strategy for them that ultimately, makes them more successful at the end of the day. So we do that. We got a public relations firm within our company, a government relations firm, international business. And so, it's been one of the things. We're not a brick and mortar. We're all former executives that want to see businesses do well.
Nice. I could probably use a tip or two along the way.
It's been amazing. It's been so much fun. And it's called Integrated Strategy Group. And so we got some really impressive folks that have just done some incredible things throughout their professional career.
Heath actually, and nobody would know this, let my kids vote in Congress, which was like the coolest thing ever. Now, they were 6 and 8. They don't remember it. Do you remember what I mean, I'm so mad at them that I don't remember that. But anyway.
Yeah, I can't remember the vote. Do you remember the vote?
I want to say it was some sort of watershed thing or a flood sort of area thing. I can't remember.
I think you're right. It probably had something to do with FEMA. It was probably a FEMA vote that would protect certain watersheds and things. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. I think that's one of the most unique things about Congress is they won't allow adults on the floor, but the rules of the House will allow kids to be on the floor. Now, I don't think it's technically correct that they're allowed to vote for me, but it's actually that unwritten rule that we actually allow the kids to go in. They can take our voting card, put it in the voter, and press the yay or nay. And so that's always been fun. My son and daughter thought that was the greatest thing ever. When they would be up and for the summer and spend the summer with me, they literally it was every day. Dad, can we go vote? Can we go vote? And of course, the members, if you're having a vote-a-rama, as they call it, where you're voting, every 2 minutes, it's always good when you got the kids there and they can help you out and you get to see them do something that's so important, and it's something that most of those kids do remember for the rest of their life.
I don't think I ever told you this, but another congressman came up to me, and I I faintly recognized him because I'm not a big politics guy. But he
Yeah.
came up to me and he literally like grabbed my arm and he said, "Come here." And I said, "Yeah, what's up?" And he said, "Are you from Tennessee?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Oh, well, Heath mentioned you're from Tennessee. You're not trying to make him the next athletic director, are you?" And I said, "No, I just work for ESPN," which I did at the time. I said, "I just work for ESPN. I wanted to say hi and visit with him." And he goes, "Good, because we need him." That's a pretty cool compliment, though, isn't it?
I think, as much as I really dislike the politics that kind of is a part of Congress, but I love the people I served with. I mean, even the people I completely disagreed with, and people say, "Well, how can you like this person?" or "How does this person?" and they talk negative about them. In 99% of the cases, they're really quality people. You may differ, and because they live in a different area. Because let's be honest with you, downtown New York is a whole lot different than Knoxville, Tennessee, right? Or Bryson City, North Carolina. It's so there is differences of opinion, but you just respect the work that they do, and if they do it right, and they're there for the right reasons. And I think that was the most important to me. That I truly, it always sounded cliche, but I wanted to serve my country. This country had given me so much. I mean, if I just look at the things that afforded my family and I to make a difference in our lives, and it was because we had our freedoms, the ability to do things. We live in a capitalist country, and you're not told what to do. And I mean, we can all complain about our government and complain all you want to complain. That's your right. Just go live in another country or go visit other countries and see how much and see how much you really appreciate what we have here in this great nation.
He's got the coolest Wikipedia in the biz. If you look at him, he's a first round pick, Heisman finalist, played college football at a very high level, congressman, Duke Energy. Now he's rolling on. He's the man. Heath Shuler. I really appreciate the time. Best to you, and I'm rooting for Navy all along the way, and hopefully I can fly to New York and maybe we'll cover a Heisman ceremony with him in it. That'd be awesome.
That would be great, Dave. It's always great to spend time with you and great to see you. And for the over the years, I mean, gosh, it started when you were in college, right?
It did. It did.
It started when you were in college.
I got bit by this bug early, and if you remember, I called you at one point because I was about to get out of this bug,
You were, yes, you did. Yep.
and I was like, Heath, I mean, is there anything else I can do? But no, I stuck in it. So we'll see how things go. But I can't tell you how much it means for you to take a few minutes. I really
Well,
appreciate it.
I'm always proud of you, and it's great to see the success that you've had. And congratulations, and look forward to seeing you again in person soon.
That is Heath Shuler. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button because we got more former Vols coming up. But I don't know that we're going to top Heath anytime soon.